Welcome to Barber Jam with me, Gary Spencer, the creator of the Great British Barber Bash. Today I'm talking to Kevin Luchmun. He's a fantastic barber. He's worked in so many countries, too many to mention. He's an educator, he's a presenter, he's a fantastic photographer. So today's going to be a really interesting chat. Hope you enjoy it. Welcome to Barber Jam with me, Gary Spencer, from the Great British Barber Bash. Mr. Kevin Luchmun, how are you, sir?
I'm very happy actually because you just pronounced my name right. I have
Did
so
I?
many people like say my name different ways.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like Lunchman, Lookman, it's all sorts. But you said it right.
I've only just realised it is spelt with a UN because when I was typing your email again, it's UN instead of AM.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
listen,
yeah.
you're looking buff, by the way. You're looking ultra healthy. When
Thank
I
you.
met you about 5 years ago, you were still gorgeous, don't get me wrong. But what have you done to
Little bit
transform?
heavy.
You've lost that 4 stone. You look so fit. What's happened?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like for anyone that's known me, I've always not been fat, but like, you know what it's like. You go through a stage in your life where you're really busy, and then you start slipping up. And I think, especially when I went independent back in 2017, you know what it's like, especially when you're trying to run your own business. Like all you can think is like, how are you going to bring the next paycheck in?
Yeah,
And I was just grafting, and through a lot of my travel, it's just easy to like just not really kind of like care about your body, and it's easy when you're in an airport to grab a sandwich, to eat plain food. When you're in a different country, like I mean, especially for example, like if I'm in Spain or Italy, like it's just carb central. Go to America and it's carb central.
it's part of the
Um,
scene as well, though, isn't it? It's like if you do something with somebody say in Spain, like you're saying, and they say, "Can we go out for a meal or beer afterwards?" You feel almost obliged to do it, and it's part of
like,
being away.
and that's the thing. It's like, I remember when I used to go to like Italy and Spain a lot, it's kind of like, oh yeah, we want to take you to this beautiful, lovely restaurant. We're going to order the food. And they order so much food. And then it's like, oh yeah, we're going to get the beers and the wines and, what do you want, red or white? And it's like, and like you said, you feel obliged that you have to say yes. And of course, like I love food. So, I'd want to try everything. And then it's afterwards, it's like, oh, dessert. And I'm like, get one of everything. Um, and yeah, like I just kind of probably since 2017 up to about 2019, I just put on so much weight on. And it was, a lot of people ask me, when was it that it kind of clicked, that you realize, okay, like, enough's enough, like I need to obviously do something about it. And it was in March, and I'd done this show in Croatia, and it was probably in front of about maybe 400 people, and we had these massive TV screens behind us. And I just remember cutting hair on stage and turning around just to make sure that the audience could see what I was doing. And I saw myself on the side, and I was just like, man, this is too much. And then that was in March, and my son was born on May the 21st. He was due on the 15th, and I just, from that point, I just thought to myself, you know what? I just don't want to be a fat dad. Like, I want to be able to run after like my kid, and that sort of stuff. And that's what really kicked it off. So it was from end of March 2019 till December 2019 that I've done the transformation, which was like, yeah, 9 months. And I started at about 96 kilograms, and I got down to 67. So
What's that? How many stone is it?
it's like, yeah, it was around 4.5, 5 stone. It's a lot.
Okay,
Um,
that's
yeah,
marvelous.
and I just, I wanted to do it for myself, more than anything. Of course, like I wanted to do it for my son. I wanted to do it for my other half. But I just wanted to, what it's like. I think like, for anyone that knows me, like I'm a very driven person. Like if I want to do something, I will do it. Like I will literally find any way, mean or form to do it. And for me, it was like a mini challenge, just to be like, right, okay, I'm determined to get there, and I'm going to get there. And yeah, just, it made me realize that, like, really, like if you're committed to doing something and like consistency, like you'll be able to get it, in anything.
Change your habits. I mean, I've got no room to talk, but I do know where you're coming from. I was always 15 stone, and when I started traveling about 5 years ago, doing more educational stuff and taking people around the country, and you don't
Yeah.
realise that the motorway food and the aeroplane food. Next minute, I'm 17 stone. So it is something that's on
It's
my
easy
mind.
to slip.
Trust me.
That's the thing, though. It's easy to slip up, and it's I even remember like when I first started it in March. Like I remember like my first show after that, because like Theo was born. Like, my first show was in New York, like at the beginning of June, And in New York, you're sport for choice for what you can eat. But I was so strict because I had it in my head. And it's like anything, it's ticking all the boxes, make sure you're doing what you need to do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to be honest as well, I'll change the subject in a minute, but I stopped drinking about 3 years ago. I had a little bit in between where I had a couple of drinks, but again, it was about the travelling, and people would expect me to go for a drink afterwards. And it's lovely because it's nice to be sociable. But
Yeah.
soon realised that if I was going to be travelling at say 6 o'clock the next morning or 5 o'clock the next morning, or getting to an airport, it's no good. Alcohol's no good for you. Do you know? And sort of,
Even in March, like I stopped drinking myself, like in March. I was never like I wasn't a massive heavy drinker anyway, but like I was so like, right, I'm just going cold turkey with everything. And, again, like, I remember like you're getting taken out by your clients and they're like, oh yeah, what would you like to drink? Oh, can I just have a sparkling water? And they're like, yeah, but like there's red wine, there's white wine, there's beer. And I'm like, just the water's fine. But I think it's like anything. I think, when I was new to doing it all, it's fun, and then you just want to like just go with the flow. And now I'm just like, nah, I'm good. Like I can have a good time with some water. It's fine.
yeah, I think when you first start doing touring and show work and stuff, and it is exciting. Yeah,
Mm.
it is exciting. But I think what it is you feel that it's almost like a holiday almost. You're traveling to such a place or whatever. But you've got to realise that it's not. It is just work,
Yeah,
isn't it? My
exactly.
but right, listen, I'm going to take you straight back to the beginning. Really, we're going to talk a bit about photography and the show work and all the travelling you do. But where did it all start for you? Was it straight into barbering from leaving school?
So it started when I was at college. I was studying travel and tourism. So this was when I was around 17. Like after finishing school, like I'd done A levels in art, and I was always quite creative. So when I left school, I decided to go to college. And this is the crazy thing. So when I went to college, I actually studied travel and tourism because the
Really?
whole idea was, like I wanted to like go to different countries. I want to be like a holiday rep or something like that. Work with people. And the madness thing is that's more or less what I do now. Well, obviously not right now because
You
of
don't put brochures on
coronavirus.
shelves, though. You don't put the brochures on the shelves anymore.
Exactly. Um, and then, yeah, like there was a friend of mine who wanted his hair cut. So I ended up, I've always had a shaven head. So I said, like, come around my house, start cutting your hair. Started cutting his hair, and then started cutting my other friend's hair. Easy way to make £5 here, there, and everywhere. And then, yeah, just from that really. And then, I got a job in a barber shop in my hometown in Maidstone. I worked there for about a year and a bit. And then at this time, I was at college and I went back to study hairdressing. And I remember them taking us like on the school trip, college trip to Salon International. And I
Yes.
remember seeing MK on stage. He was on the Andes stage. This is when the Andes stage was very small. It was part of Denman. And he was just doing these incredible designs and pattern works and bathing. And I remember when I got back from the trip, I basically emailed him and I was like, I'd love to like work underneath you, like as an apprentice. And then I got the job with MK, worked with him for about 3.5 years. And then, it was great because he introduced me to show work, competition work. He gave me the opportunity to be on stage in Salon International. And at this point, I didn't know how to educate. I couldn't talk for shit. I was just cutting hair, keeping my head down. And then, through going to Salon International, like every year, like I'd always go for a walk around, see the different stages. And I always remember just seeing Tony and Guy had the big stage in the middle. And I was like, wow, like the way how they done their presentations, the models that they had, the music. I was like, this is cool. And then, like after 3.5 years with MK, I decided, I just wanted to learn how to cut longer hair. I wanted to learn a bit of ladies hairdressing. As I said, I saw Tony and Guy, and then I thought, right, if I want to be a part of something, I want to be a part of the best thing that's out there. Same as when I saw MK. And then, got a job in Tony and Guy. In my hometown Maidstone, then had to retrain all over again, do ladies hairdressing. We're still doing men's as well. And then just worked in Maidstone for a while, worked in Canterbury, worked in different toning guys around the area that I'm from. And then I decided to take a break. I took a break for about 3 months because I didn't know if I wanted to do hair no more. And I actually applied to be a firefighter. It's a random story, true story that is. Because back then I was back like really into my fitness as well. But then after about 3 months taking the time off, I missed hair, like anything, you know, I missed the creativity of it. So then I decided to get a job back at Tony and Guy, which was in Blue Water, which was just a little bit away from where I'm from. And then was there for about 2.5 years. And that's when I really fell in love with it. Started to go to the academy, go on different courses, and then realized I really want to work my way up within Tony and Guy, the company. So then I got a job in Tony and Guy Covent Garden. So started in central London, and that's when I realized that I'm a really small fish in a massive pond. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that move to London to try and work their way up within the industry, especially with a big company like Tony and Guy. You know, you had people from all around the world that would move to central London to become an art director. But like anything, you know, I was driven, like I was persistent, and just always went to the academy. And then, yeah, and this was back probably, so I moved to London around 2011. And then it was 2013 that I ended up winning the British Hairdressing Awards for men. And
Right.
that's really when everything started to change a lot, because I'd done the competition by myself. Like I got my team, I got my photographer, the models, collaborated, all didn't have any help from people from Tony and Guy. When I ended up winning it, that's when there was like, well, who's this guy who's like, where's Tony Guy that's just won it? And then that's really when I just started pushing as much as possible, and then got the opportunity to become an art director, Tony and Guy, started teaching the academy, then started to head the men's course, doing the campaigns, the step-by-steps, fashion week, traveling, doing all that sort of stuff. And then, yeah, that was back in 2013, and then continued that till 2017. And then, yeah, February 2017 is when I decided that I ticked all the boxes, achieved everything I wanted to achieve with Tony and Guy, and decided to take the step and obviously create my own education and do me.
Yeah. Did you ever do anything with TG at all? Was it just Tony and Guy, or was the two
Just
crop over?
Tony and Guy. Yeah, so obviously Tony and Guy and TG are completely separate. Don't get me wrong, some of the shows that we've done, sometimes we see the guys from TG and we'd obviously talk to them. But yeah, it was complete separate to TG and Tony and Guy.
Yeah, I was lucky enough. I used to go to Las Vegas to the world launch of the products once a year. So I went to Mandalay Bay twice,
Oh
and
no.
obviously Anthony Mascolo and James Morrison and all the art scene were there, and it was a really motivational part of my sort of hairdressing career. Well, listen, from moving on to there, you've made the transition to having doing your own thing. I mean, you must have made a lot of contacts when you were obviously doing the shows with Tony and Guy. But how has that been, and what have you had to do to sort of get that moving in the way it's get moved?
Yeah, I mean, like obviously through Tony and Guy, we, you know, a lot of the shows that we would do was for Tony and Guy and Label M. And it was great because, you know, I got to meet a lot of people. And, you know, obviously, Gary, you know me, like I'm a very talkative person. Like you know, I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy meeting people. I am very careful of people that I do stuff with, you know, and like I do kind of have that little bit of a front, but like, you know, I will talk to people and like I like to network, and, you know, it's just one of those ones that like I was a very much an outgoing person whenever I do shows. And you know, obviously, when I left Tony and Guy, like the whole thing was I never wanted to take any of their links. I never wanted to take any of their clients. Like their clients are their clients. Like I wanted to get my own clients. Like through shows. But like anything, like I think when I started to, you know, make my mark within the industry, probably like 2013, 14, that's when my social media, my Instagram started to grow, and a lot of people like worldwide, you know, would obviously know who I was. You know, obviously Lee from Barbershop Connect, like, you know, who, you know, I'm so grateful for him. He got me to like the first BarberCon. Like, you know, I've always been you know, part of his journey with that. And it's like anything, through when I'm in shows, people will see me, like I talk to people. And I always say it is that kind of like cycle effect. Like, you know, when you do one show, you've got to make sure that you're active. You've got to make sure that you're talking to everyone, because you never know who someone is. You know, it doesn't matter if you're doing one show for another company, there might be other people from other shows out there. And even if you don't talk to anyone, like I always, like, people always ask me this advice. They say, oh, how do you get to do what you're doing? Like, you know, like, oh, you know, I'd love to do what you're doing on stage. And I'm like, if you want to do that, don't talk to me, because I'm not the one who's getting me on that stage. It's other people that are not in the limelight that people don't know. So you need to talk to everyone.
Yeah,
And it, of course, like, you know, you want to talk to people that you're inspired from, and, you know, like the people that you look up towards. But people say, "Oh yeah, I want to do what you're doing," but I'm like, "Well, I'm not going to be able to do it because I'm the person doing it." Like, there's organizers in the event that get me there, you know, and they're the ones that you need to talk to.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, but
definitely.
who are they? And I'm like, well, you need to go and buy them because I'm not going to show you because they're not in the limelight. But it was the same way how I found out, you know.
Yeah, I mean, again, something I picked up on there as well. You've got to be also careful because you will get asked for lots of things. You'll get approached for lots of things, and you can't say yes to everything. I would imagine. Would you,
Yeah,
is that the point?
yeah. I always say it's a good thing to say no.
Yeah, good thing to say now and sort of pick your work a little bit. You touched on Lee there from Barbershop Connect. Was he one of the first sort of footholds you got in the States? Because obviously you work so extensively over there now.
Yeah, like Lee, obviously with Barbershop Connect, you know, they have a massive platform, you know, on social media. Um, and yeah, the first show that he done in New York, like he got me there as an international artist. And it was just amazing, you know, the opportunity to be in front of. I'm sure that was actually my first time doing something in America was in New York, actually, like for Barbershop Connect. And like anything, you know, I think, and you know, Gary, you know, like especially, you know, you've been to America several times. It's when you go to America and you know what you're talking about and you have an English accent, you're winning all day long.
They
Like,
even find me sexy.
yeah,
So,
but it's yeah, he gave me like a great platform and like, you know, he really pushed me out there. You know, he gave me a lot of love through like their page and everything else like that. And you know, I'll always support his brand. He'll always support me as well, which is really nice. um but yeah, like that was really my first kind of like into America, and then that's when I started to like sort of like see the different artists, kind of get an idea who was who and what they was doing and how America was different to, you know, the UK, that sort of thing.
what would you say is different over there? I mean, I've been lucky enough. We've had Famos over here, Scott Ramos. We've had Sophie Park, who's fantastic.
Yeah.
We've had Diego and all those guys. What are the main differences, would you say, with the American scene to the UK scene?
um i'd say I'd say it's I say now there's not a huge amount of difference. The reason why is because of Instagram, because of social media. It's like they can see what we're doing and we can see what they're doing. I think what's different is the taste. You know, the taste and how they like to do things, and you know, their cultures are completely different to us. You know, if you think about, and but that's the same. It's like, you know, you look at a West Coast barber compared to like a East Coast barber, it's
Yeah,
completely
different.
different. You know, so it's kind of like, and I'd say, you know, what makes the UK different to the US without trying to without trying to downgrade us, because you know, I do believe we are the leaders out there in the industry. I'd say the US will really push things. Like they will literally go all out on everything. But I think with the UK, I think our philosophy, especially my philosophy, is less is more. Like, you know, I'd like to do something, you know, very well done, very well executed, but try not to go overboard with it, you know, because I think there's a fine line with going too overboard and something. But don't get me wrong, like, is that a bad thing or a good thing? Do you know what I mean? It's all taste, isn't it? You know, some people like it, some people don't like it. You know what?
Yeah,
I appreciate everyone's work, even if they've gone completely out of the box and completely radical with what they've done with color and cutting. But yeah, I think America really push boundaries. As we push boundaries, but I think they do it in a different way to us as well.
yeah.
I don't
I
want to
mean,
say the behind.
yeah, it's sort of. I think we're lucky to have had all the street fashion we've had going back to the 50s and 60s,
Yeah,
and I know a lot of your stuff. It's very cool, sort of chic stuff. Never really touched on avant-garde stuff, which we do sometimes see coming from the States. You've got to appreciate how it's done, but it's not natural for us to like it. Maybe I would say. Would you agree?
exactly. I mean, you know, look at like, you know, we've got a lot of subcultures. We've got a lot of, you know, history within where we're from. You know, you've got the rockabillys, you've got the mods, you've got the rockers, you know, you've got the punks, you know, and that was all like, you know, it all happened here, isn't it? You know, don't get me wrong, it happened around the world, but like, you know, all more or less started off around here. You know, especially around London. You know, London has is so and even now so diverse, you know, and I think, like you said, I think we're so lucky and fortunate that there is such a huge diversity like within London and the UK.
Yeah, definitely. What I was going to say to you, we touched there a little bit on Instagram. Um, Obviously, it's been a massive part. It's been a way of you sort of getting yourself known around the world. Your photographs are next level. how do what have you done to sort of create that part of your career?
So, again, like when I was a toning guy, I was very fortunate to work up to the stage where I was working on the campaigns and doing the step by steps, and really got like a real insight to how it was done and how the photographers would work and how the videographers would work. And again, because I speak to people and I talk to a lot of people, it's like, I even saw how they would edit it and like how they would, set up their lighting, whatever else. So the love for photography really came when I started with, well, I've always loved taking a photo, but it kind of like really took off when I started working for Tony Guy, because when I worked for Tony Guy and started doing the campaigns and all that, obviously being in London, there was so many models out there that wanted their haircut, and it was like, well, if I'm cutting your hair and you're a good looking model, like why waste this opportunity? Why not take a photo of you? So started practicing doing a bit of street photography, and like anything, like it's just progression, like it's just consistency and like, finding your own taste. Like people say, how do you take those photos? How do you do this? What lighting do you do? What camera do you use? I'm like, that's all irrelevant. Like you give me a camera, like a lot of my photos are taken just on my iPhone. The cameras on the iPhone nowadays are so good, but it's like understanding what is it that you're trying to capture within an image. It's the same like hair, like understanding what is the haircut that you're trying to create within that individual. So yeah, Tony Guys when it really first started, and then like anything, just people say, how do you improve on it? Shoot, shoot, shoot. Just carry on taking photos. How do you improve? Yeah, practice, exactly. How do you improve cutting hair better? You just cut, 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 cut. It's the same thing. Like there's no real rocket science to it, but again, I always say it comes down to taste. Like you see a lot of photographers out there, they're very high definition, very HDR and how they do their photography, and very overly edited. Some people like it really raw and like really like unedited, but again, it's like it's taste. What's right, what's wrong? There is no right or wrong.
Funny enough, I just sprung to mind a little memory there. I was at St. Christopher's Place where Tony and Guy used to have an academy years
Yeah,
ago. And they just, it must have been 25 years ago, and they just built a photo studio at the back, or they'd done a room at the back to take pictures. So again, they were actually sort of pushing it 25, 30 years ago. You touched on it.
sorry, just to interrupt on that. So the good thing with when I was working in Tony and Guy, and like I was based in the academy. So this is the thing, like like you need to work hard depending on what you want to achieve. Yeah, nothing's going to happen overnight. And when I used to work in the academy, it's like I'd work my day, which would be 9 till 6. Now the academy was built up over 5 floors, and on the 5th floor was actually a photographic studio.
Yeah,
After I'd finished my shift, like at 6 o'clock, I'd bring a model after work and I'd go up there and I'd just practice my photography. So I used to do that all the time. So it's kind of like, I would invest in myself in my own time to try and do something, and try to perfect something.
that's it. I mean, so many people ask us when I've worked with, say, Alan Beak or millions of other people, and the first question somebody in the audience says is, what camera should I buy?
Yeah.
And it's not buying the camera, is it? It's getting to use it. It's like Mark, who travels with me. I could have all this thousands of pounds worth of equipment, but it's like a football or any other person, high achiever. It's the practice and the practice that makes it get to a standard. Would you agree? Sorry,
Exactly.
yeah, sorry, went a bit. I went off there. Right, listen. What I was going to say was, so obviously you've done Barbershop Connect. I've seen you do so many other shows in America, um, up and down all parts of America. Tell me about some of the other shows you've done over there.
So I've done obviously Barbershop Connect, done IBS in New York as well. I've done the Behind the Chair show in Fort Lauderdale. I've done the Behind the Chair show in in Texas, Austin, Texas. Done it in Washington DC last year. I've done the show in, oh my god, I can't even remember what it's called. The one in LA, Long Beach. The one in Long Beach. I
Yeah.
can't even remember what it's called, but like one of the shows in LA. And then I've done like a lot of stuff for myself. So I've done things in Philadelphia. I've done stuff in, again, like Los Angeles, New York. I've done the Fellowship show in New York. God,
So
yeah.
you've done hundreds. You've done so much. And who are the barbers you've worked with over there? Has it been you on your own, or you've been working with A group of guys over there.
I've done a mixture with different people. Like I've done a lot of stuff with Matty Conrad. So Matty, every time I've done the behind the chair show, that was with Matty Conrad. Obviously part of his brand, Victory Barber brand. But the great thing with Matty is like he's you know, he doesn't he invites people on stage. Like he doesn't have it where it's like, you know, you work for me. It's just like, you know, oh, this is Kevin, like, you know, he's from the UK. And it's nice because, you know, when I'm on stage with him, like he'd be like, oh, this is Kevin, like from the UK, like he's got his own educational platform. He does his, you know, so he really does big me up, you know. Yeah. Done stuff with Mark Bustos from New York, obviously Julius Caesar in LA, like in his academy, done it in the Orhal Academy. Who else? Done the Barbarella show, and that was with Pope and who is that? Hayden Cassidy was on that as well, and Tori Gill from Australia. It's quite. I've been on stage with quite a few people. Yeah, like, and it's, you know, it's nice because I love sharing the stage with someone. Like it. The difficult thing is the majority of my work that I do when I'm doing education, I'm kind of known as a one-man band. Like I do everything. Like I do my education, like I do my own video, I do my own photography, I do my whole online educational platform. That's all me. I recorded it myself, like I edit it myself. So everything's all me. But it's really nice to share the stage with different people and like kind of like, it's nice to see how people demonstrate, and it's nice to see how people work as well. And like, I am a team player, but I suppose you know what it's like. It's difficult to trust people, especially if you've got people working with, you know.
Out of the people you've worked with, maybe that we haven't seen in the UK, who would you say have been people that we should look out for over here?
That haven't been in the UK?
Or have been. Who would you say the names that you'd say that's something to go and watch if they come to the UK? Julius has obviously been over. He's a character, isn't he?
Yeah, Julius is great. I tell you what, who's actually she works with Famos, Thug Cuts. I don't know if you know who she is or if you've seen her. No, she came on my course in LA, and I saw her. So the first time I saw her was in Barber Con in New York, and her work's wicked, man. Like her work's really cool. She's got a good personality. And I've seen her do demonstrations with Famos. So like she's kind of like a little bit of like a up and coming. So I'd say keep an eye out on her, because I reckon she's gonna do well. And like, she's a likable person, but she's really nice, you know, a really nice person as well. I'd say who else we got?
Renge, is it? He's a great guy. He came over.
Renge is good, yeah. Obviously he's Julius's friend. Leche's really good as well. He's from LA as well. Don't know if you know about Leche. Yeah, you go. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. You know, obviously there's the usual candidates that we've got, isn't it? There's sort of like, there's a lot of like up and coming people. Did you get that bit?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Say that again.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people that's at the forefront of our industry at the moment. That's, you know, the usual candidates that's always there, but there's a lot of like new and up and coming people at the moment. And it's nice, you know, it's nice, like, especially when you see them coming on the courses and stuff like that. But yeah.
It is good. I mean, it reminds me, you mentioned Hayden Cassidy before, and seeing how far she's come from. 5 years ago, she came to, I think, an Alan Beat workshop at Cut and Sew in Dublin, and seeing how she's propelled herself. And again, you know, we worked with Julius Caesar about 4 years ago, and obviously he was always going to do well, but, you know, he's gone on to fantastic things, and it's just cool seeing people progress, isn't it?
Exactly, and that's what it's all about, you know. It's all about being, you know, consistent and progressing with what you're doing, you know, not staying the same. Like, and, you know, don't get me wrong, I know we're living in difficult times right now, and like, you know, there's a lot of people struggling out there. There's a lot of people twiddling their thumbs trying to think what the hell's going on. I was actually just on the call with one of the guys from Barber Evo, David, early on today, just having a little catch up with him. And it's crazy because it's obviously, like I said, I don't want to get too political with anything, but you know, you see a lot of people that's preparing like for their comeback, like with this whole coronavirus situation. You know, there's a lot of people saying, oh yeah, we're ready for the 4th of July. Yet the 4th of July isn't, you know, definite date. And there is no government rules to what you need and what you don't need. You know, they might turn around and be like, yeah, you don't need anything, just cut hair as normal. Do you know what I mean? You just don't know. And it's just,
Well,
there's a lot of people out there that's a bit unsure about a lot of things.
yeah, well, I've still got my shop in Southport where I live, and I still cut a bit of hair. I could do about some 10, 15 clients a week. And people have been contacting me. So I've got this protocol written up. And one of my friends yesterday sent me a message back saying, you've got so many rules, but the point is we've got to have them because I can't go to work and cut people's beards without masks on and then come back to my children and my mum who's 80 years of age, you know what I mean? So we have to look after ourselves.
Like exactly, and that's the thing. It's like for me, it's like you know, I've got a kid like he's just turned 1 year old, and like obviously I've got my other half, and it's like I've had clients saying, "Oh yeah, you know, like is there any chance that you can cut my hair?" Like I even had my best friends like, "Oh," I'm just like, "No," I'm like, you know what? Like I just don't want to risk it. Like I am a risk taker, but when it comes to life, I'm not a risk taker.
No.
Like especially if I know I can like prevent something from happening. It's like, what's the point? Like there is no point.
Funny enough, my friend is 50 today. It's his 50th birthday, my best mate, and his wife's asked me to cut his hair. And I just don't feel comfortable doing it because I've then got to go and spend time with my kids, my mother, etc. And I just think to myself, well, I've got this during this pandemic. So, you know, thankfully, you know, we've arrived where we are.
I said to my mates who was like saying, "Oh yeah, I really need my haircut." I'm like, "Why do you need your haircut?" I'm like, "Where you going?" I was like, "You ain't even working." I was like, "You furloughed yourself." I was like, "You're getting paid to sit in your ass and do nothing." I was like, "Go for a run."
Netflix.
Yeah.
Wait, let's look at this. My 9-year-old cut my hair. My 9-year-old and my cut my hair. It's not bad, is it? She cut it all. Thin the front out a bit too much, so that's the only problem. Right, listen, my next question for you was, we get asked a lot about endorsements and sponsorships, and everybody wants to be an ambassador for this, an ambassador for that. And obviously you've been around for some time, a few years. What do you do about endorsements, and any recommendations? Should you say yes to anything that comes along, or should you be choosy?
I think for anything, I think if you're being approached by a brand or a company to be an ambassador for something, or if you're wanting to be an ambassador for something and you're approaching them, I do first always say you need to believe in the brand first. That's the first thing. You need to believe in the brand. You need to believe in the product. You know, you don't want to be that type of person or that person that's selling something just because you're getting free tools or free products or because they're giving you money and whatever else. You know, you need to believe in the product first. Second, I would ask, why do you want to be a brand ambassador? Like, what is your reason, your purpose behind being a brand ambassador? Is it because, like I said, you love that product and you believe in the product and you use that product already? Or is it because you want extra money, you want extra income? Or is it because you want the opportunity to work on shows? And all these things that I've said, that's not a bad thing, but like you need to think, why is it that you want to be a brand ambassador first? Number three, you need to realize that being an ambassador for something will then prevent you from having the opportunity to do other things with people. Did you catch me on that one?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like if you're working for a product company and you want to do a show that's sponsored by another product company, there's most probably a chance that you're not going to be able to do it because you're working for that product company. And what do I think about? I don't think it's a bad thing. Like for me, like, you know, I used to work for Tony and Guy. I used to be an ambassador for Label M. And when I left them, I used to do stuff for L'Oreal. Then obviously I was never an ambassador for L'Oreal. I've done stuff for like Weller. I've never been an ambassador for them. I've only just like subcontract stuff. It was for about a year and a half. I was an ambassador for Panasonic, but my contract came to an end. It came to an end like on a good note. Like there was nothing like, you know, I left them or they got rid of me. It was just like my contract came to an end in March.
Do you know what? They were actually really good clippers. I got some of those clippers. And although they were very different to you, but they were so powerful and had such a great mix in them.
So this is the thing, like a lot of people's like, why are you using Panasonic? Like, you know, I've never heard of Panasonic. But then it's like anything, when you have an understanding of a product and what they can do, you know, with Panasonic, I had the opportunity. I went to Japan. I went to their factory. I saw how they were made. You know, it's kind of like when you see the ins and outs of a company like that, and you see how the tool's made and the attention to detail, then you start thinking, "Damn, this product's bloody good." You know, like crazy thing was, you know, Tesla models, like Tesla, the electric cars, the batteries are Panasonic. So
really?
it's madness. So it's like, you know, you need to believe in the product, but, you know, I was with them for a year and a half. The contract come to an end, and now I'm independent. I'm by myself. But for me, like I've never had the need or the want to be an ambassador for like any products, because I don't need to, because I've got a good reputation within within the industry. You know, a lot of people, I get a lot of opportunities to do stuff off my own back, and it does give me that freedom to work with loads of different brands as well, which I do like, because I do like working with different people. And the good thing with that as well is that you get to see how things are done differently, because, you know, some brands' ethos might be completely different to another, but it's nice, you know. And plus, when I do different shows for different companies, it's like, say, for example, you know, if I've done a show for you and you're like, okay, you know, like, let's just say, I don't know, Jerry's Products is
Yeah,
one of our new sponsors. Can you use them? You know, and then I'm like, yeah, I don't work for them, I can use them.
yeah.
They're paying me. You don't have to pay me. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like there's a lot more of a leeway to not work with a product or a brand. But like I said, I mean, that's been 18 years of building the reputation that I've got now. But yeah, I think it's good. Like, just again, I just think if you're in negotiations or you're talking to companies, like, obviously just, you know, you make sure you're getting the ins and outs, you're reading that contract properly, you know, and, you know, you need to respect them as much as they're going to respect you. So don't just think, oh yeah, I'm a part of this brand now, I can go and do what the F I want to do. You know, you need to respect, obviously, you know, what they believe in and their ethos as well.
And it's great when the big box of free stuff arrives, but you've got to realise you're then locked into that for a year or 2 years or whatever it is.
Exactly. Exactly.
Funny enough, again, something just sprung to mind from when you did our show with us about 4 years ago in London, the first one we'd done in London, and you did it with Charlie Cullen.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he's a great guy. I just wanted to bring him up, actually. You said, oh, I do, but Buddy's going to be on stage with me. I didn't really know who he was. But it was great to see you two work together. And he's gone on to do some good things as well, hasn't he? His photo work and everything's terrific.
yeah. He's an amazing educator, amazing hairdresser, amazing person as well. You know, and like me and Charlie, we worked very close when we was in Tony Guy. He's independent now himself. Um, you know, he's doing his own education as well, which is great. And yeah, you know, I think the great thing with someone like him is, like, because we're both independent artists, we can do stuff together, we can collaborate together. And, you know, that's the great thing about when you are an independent artist and you don't have any affiliations with brands, you can actually do stuff with other people. And it's nice, you know, and it's just nice to have the opportunity, like I said, to share stage with different people and see how they do things differently, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Right, listen, we're coming to the end of our chat, really. What I was going to ask you now was, what advice would you give to somebody who is maybe 17, 18, who wants to go on like a 10-year sort of plan to get to where you are? What would be your sort of advice to young guys starting out that want to end up touring the world, traveling, educating everywhere? Do you
Take
get it?
baby steps. Yeah, I
Take
got it.
baby
I said,
steps.
take baby steps. Don't try and run before you can walk. And that's a lot of things, like, you know, like I said, you get a lot of people that want to do it. And it's like, of course, if you want to do something, you'll be able to get there, but you need to realize it's going to take time, commitment, and you're going to have to take a lot of sacrifices as well. And it's not easy, you know. Obviously traveling, and you know it firsthand, like traveling and doing shows, especially if you're trying to set them up yourself, it ain't an easy thing. And it's like, people will see the ins and outs, and people want to have that photo of, on stage, like with a massive crowd behind you. And, like I'd done last year in November, like I'd done a show in Brazil, and there was just under 2,000 people, and I was headlining it. And it's like, people are, oh my God, that's so sick. And I'm like, yeah, but it took me like 20 hours to get there. Like, I'm literally like jet lagged. I'm staying in a hotel room by myself. Like, and, I'm on stage for 3 hours. I'm trying to fill the stage for 3 hours with content. It's hard. It's difficult. Like, a lot of people think being on stage and education and educating is an easy thing, but it's not. And, I see it firsthand. I see a lot of people out there on stage doing demonstrations, and I'm like, you're chatting a load of shit over nothing. Like, you just want that limelight. You're not actually educating people. It's like, I'd say, if you want to be an educator, you're doing it for the right reasons. You're doing it because you want to educate people. You want to pass your knowledge on. But the problem is, some people want to do it because they want to be center of attention. They want the limelight. And I'm not saying, you know, don't get me wrong, I love that. Like it's part of why I enjoy doing it. But you know, most importantly, the reason why I enjoy doing it is because I want to give back my knowledge, what I've learned throughout the years, you know, and kind of pass down the good things that I've learned and kind of like throw away the bad things that I've learned, you know. But I think any advice would be like, be consistent with what you're doing, be patient, take your time. Things won't happen overnight, but if you really want to do it, like you can do it. There's nothing stopping you but yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fantastic advice because obviously I get asked a lot of times, and I see a guy and he's on Instagram, he's doing some fantastic work, and he says, "Oh, can we be at the show? Can we present?" And I probably agree with what you're saying. It's not for everybody, is it? It's not for everybody. Just because you're a great plumber doesn't mean you can teach plumbing at college. Do you know what I mean? Or
This
you
is the
know,
thing. Like, you can be a great hairdresser, but you can be a really bad educator. And that's the thing. It's like I always say, like, look, I know how to cut hair. Like I've had many years of experience, but there's a lot of people out there that are amazing hairdressers, better hairdressers than me, that can cut fantastic, beautiful shapes and beautiful haircuts. But if you try and ask them how do you do that, they're like, you know, I just pull the hair down and I cut it. But you know, there's one thing educating, there's another thing being an amazing hairdresser or a barber. You know.
yeah, definitely. And again, I think also over the last sort of 3 or 4 years, seeing all these names come along, like your Hayden Cassidy's and obviously Alan Beek's doing fantastically well, and Ryan Cullen, so many names. He thinks that that's the only way to go. You've got to do education if you want to be well known. And you don't, do you? You can just be a very successful or shop worker who's got a fantastic business and put your stuff on Instagram or whatever. And it doesn't always have to be the education route you go down because it's definitely not for everybody.
No, and that's the thing. It's like with me, it's like, you know, I could say, oh shit, like I've kind of shot myself in the foot because it's like all my main primary thing that I do is education. Like I travel around, I deliver education. With this whole situation that's happened now, is zero. I'm doing nothing. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I can't do anything. And it's like even when the shops open on the fourth, supposedly the 4th of July, people can go back to their jobs and cut hair in salon. I can't do shit because I still can't get out of this country. Do you know what I
No.
mean? And for me, it's like I know full well when people get back to cutting hair, the last thing that they're going to want to do is book someone to come and educate them because they need to cut so many clients' hair, you know. And America, bloody hell, like I mean, I just don't want to go to that country now. It's all crazy right now, you know. Just, but you know, it's one of those ones. You know, it's for me, it's good because it's got my thinking cap on. You know, this whole time, like I'm reflecting on a lot of things. I'm thinking about what my next move is going to be. Um, and yeah, man, like it's one of those ones, you know, I always try and keep positive. I always try and think to myself, okay, what is going to be the next move that I'm going to do? And I've got things that I've got planned to do, you know, and it's just being determined and just keeping positive, you know.
Funnily enough, that's sort of my almost last question. A lot of guys have moved a lot into these online webinars and using Zoom for education. Obviously, you just touched on the America thing is looking really precarious at the moment. They've got an enormous problem with coronavirus and other problems as well over there. Where do you see yourself going in the next couple of years? Do you think that that could be something you looked at, maybe doing more of that kind of webinar over the internet kind of education? Or what do you see? Where do you see Kevin Luchmun in the next 3 years?
Yeah, so I have my online education that I've got at the moment, like on my website, which is obviously step by steps. I started actually doing live webinars last week on Sunday, and I'm doing it every Sunday in June, just to test it. And you know, more than anything, Gary, just to cut hair because it's like I haven't been cutting hair, so it's kind of like, you know, I invested money into like getting, you know, proper lighting. Like I've set up a studio in my house, like I'm using pivot point heads, you know, I'm using good quality stuff rather than stuff that's going to be, oh yeah, half-heartedly done. And it's, you know, I've just actually gone all out. Like I've done a whole production behind it. So it's like, you know, everything's done professional, how I'm doing like the live streaming webinar, which is really nice. And for me, that was like another skill set that I'm starting to learn and understand. In regards to where I see myself going or being in 3 years time, I've got things, I've got things in mind that I want to do. I've got some plans and some ideas. I'd like to stay home a bit more and travel a bit less.
Mm.
Reason why is because obviously with my son as he's getting older, I just want to spend time with him, man. Like for me, I've realized that I've always realized it, family first. You know, like as long as I'm healthy, as long as my family's healthy, as long as I've got like shelter over my head, as long as they're being fed, like I couldn't give a shit about the fame. I couldn't give a shit about making shitload of money. I just want them to be safe. You know, that's what matters to me now. And like I said, I want to travel a bit less. Still have to travel because, you know, that become of my work. I do think the whole education and the shows will get back to normal, and it will take time. It's not going to happen overnight. I've come to the realization that 2020 is a write-off for traveling for me in regards to education and big shows. It's not to say that I wouldn't have the opportunity to go and do smaller things and smaller classes. So say, for example, like I was supposed to go to Chicago in June, but then that's been pushed back to August. And with this whole situation, it's probably going to be pushed back till next year. But like anything, you know, a lot of these people, they're not cancelling, they're just rescheduling to when it can happen again. So, you know, even though we're going through a hard time right now, you know, next year might be just absolutely bonkers and crazy in regards to education. You just never know. But, you know, I'm just keeping consistent. You know, I'm still doing my photography. I'm still doing my video, still doing online, like, you know, bits and content, making sure that I'm doing something rather than sit my ass for something to happen. You know?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm looking at this as like a reset and a sort of energize. I'm like the eternal optimist. So I was hoping that we probably would do a couple of shows at the end of the year, but now I'm thinking it's going to happen.
Exactly.
I do like seeing this webinar and the sort of online academy stuff. I think that's been a great thing. And for me personally, obviously we started doing our podcast, which, you know, it's something I've been meaning to do for a while, but this is sort of keeping me sane as I'm traveling around. Instead of traveling around, should I say. Right, last question or last little bit of our chat today. Just a positive statement to finish off on. What would you say to the people who are listening today to make them positive, put a smile on the face? What's your last little summary, Kevin?
Life's too short to worry about things that you have no control over. So just keep positive, keep busy, keep active, and everything will be all right.
That'll do. Well, listen, thank you so much. I mean, I think we've covered loads. Hopefully the sound and everything's okay for everybody. Well, I've really enjoyed having a chat with you. We've covered loads of ground, and it's good to have an insight because everybody thinks that, I think with somebody like yourself, that it's this perfect life of getting on and off planes and getting whisked off to shows. And I think it's good to know that there's a lot more depth to it than that. And there's a lot of traveling goes into it, a lot of planning, a lot of organisation. And things don't happen overnight. I think in particular, when you say about taking baby steps, I think that was a fantastic piece of advice in that don't rush things. People want to go from zero to hero within 2 years in this industry sometimes. And I think it's a longer journey. And also enjoy the journey a little bit as well. Don't pressure yourself too much. Because I think people can do that, especially with social media. People can put too much pressure on themselves. But anyway, listen, thank you so much for being my guest today. And good luck with everything. Obviously, we'll hopefully have you at our show soon. And whatever you do in the future, I just wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much once again. All the best for yourself as well. And I shall see you soon.